everybody. I just wanted to upload a video real quick about a concerning topic about Greg Locke, Pastor Greg Locke from Tennessee. I know there's a lot of theories out there or whatever about the fact that he has an ex-wife and he married a secretary, yeah. So basically, it's really been bothering me. This whole topic's been bothering me a lot. My family and I, we watch him online live every Sunday, and so we've been basically going to church, I guess you could say, with Greg Locke. So, but the whole situation with him has been bugging me more and more, and I recently came across a video. I didn't really like the video. The guy who put it out wasn't entirely fair with what he talked about. He was talking a lot of crap on Greg Locke, but he did bring up some good points. And so now at this point, my husband and I and our family, we're not really comfortable watching him anymore as a pastor, and I'm going to share with you guys why. Because I have encouraged a lot of people to watch him, and so that's why I want to make sure that I walk it back and explain to people that I'm not really supporting him as a pastor anymore. And I do have to give a shout out to my friend Kelly, my super good friend Kelly, because she's awesome. She's in Kentucky, and she warned me about a lot of these things with Greg Locke, and I didn't like look the other way, but I did, when I looked into it, I was just like, well, you know, we don't really know the details about his divorce and this and that, and, but now that I've looked into it even more, then I can see that there's definitely a red flag there. And so I want to just talk to you guys about a few things. So his first wife was named Melissa, and they were married for like 17 years or something crazy. They had 4 kids together, and then come to find out they get divorced. You know, he cans her and he gets himself a different wife. His new wife was his church secretary, and so that's like super awkward, like just weird. But when you start looking into it a bit, it's like he doesn't really give an excuse or an explanation for why he got divorced. Okay, so, and the thing is that there are certain rules in the Bible for when, as a Christian, you're allowed to get a divorce and when you're not allowed to get a divorce, because marriage is super sacred to the Lord. And he gives a list for why. I mean, I think the only 2 things that are even allowed is if somebody has committed adultery, then you're allowed to divorce them. And then the other thing is if you married an unbeliever and they want to leave, then you're allowed to let them go. Now, even under that circumstance, he doesn't even say that you're allowed to get remarried at that point, because then you're an adulteress, right, or an adulterer. And so even being allowed to divorce doesn't mean that you're allowed to remarry. Not only did Greg get divorced, he got remarried. And not only that, but the woman he married is divorced and married him. So she had a previous husband. And just to make everything just a little bit more awkward, Greg Locke had actually performed the wedding ceremony for his secretary with her first husband. He officiated it. If that isn't awkward, I don't know what is, okay? So, this whole situation is just shady, because it seems to me he hasn't really been super transparent with why it is he divorced his first wife, and we have to take this seriously. The Bible does give rules for who's allowed to be a pastor, and there's things like the husband of one wife, and there's a couple, and there's some other things in there too, and there's a couple of views with that. Like, I've thought before, I'm like, okay, well, is it saying that you can only have one wife ever, or one wife at a time? Because, you know, some people took on multiple wives and stuff at the same time. But maybe if you get divorced, you know, legally or biblically, and you get remarried biblically, then it's okay, because you only had one wife at a time. And I kind of thought that it's like, as long as you only have one at a time kind of a concept, but I don't think that that's what it is anymore, to be honest. But at any rate, we would have to know that he got divorced for a biblical reason, like his wife was cheating on him, right? And that they could not reconcile because she was cheating on him, or that she's an unbeliever and walked away and he tried to, you know, keep her and she left, so he had to let her go. Those are the only things that are allowable in the Bible, dude. And he is not being forthcoming in saying any of this. The only thing he's actually said is that supposedly his first wife had mental health issues, which is such a vague term and a cop-out, in my opinion, because even if she was, like, say, kind of crazy or whatever else, so that means you're allowed to divorce her and get yourself a new wife? Like, that's not cool, dude. Like, you can't just divorce your wife who you've been sleeping with and living with and had children with of 17 years, and then just be like, well, I'm going to trade her out for a different model. So, and I was kind of like giving him the benefit of the doubt with that. Well, maybe, you know, she hasn't come forward, so maybe, you know, she was cheating or whatever, and that's why there's not much info. Then I came across this other video, which is him talking from 3 years ago, Greg Locke talking from 3 years ago, and he actually references, basically, this sermon, it's a snippet from a sermon that I saw, but he is divorced. He already canned his first wife, and he's evidently dating his now wife. He was dating her during this sermon, right? And he goes on a rant during this sermon, and he's talking about how you can't let anybody get in the way of you and the Lord and your work with the Lord, even if you're married to that person, evidently. So he literally justifies the fact that he canned his wife, talking about how she was holding him back, you know, and I don't know what he means by that, what, like not supporting your ministry or keeping you from Bible study. I don't know, and I don't care. That is not a good reason to can your wife, and, you know, for that mental health issue, because she was dragging you down all the time, okay? He literally talks about that in this little sermon. He just says, you know, like, people keeping you back, blah, 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 let that stuff go, da-da-da. And then he literally, throughout the course of this little sermon, literally encourages other people. Oh, if you've been married for 10 years and nothing's changed, why do you think it would change now? And he's encouraging people to leave their spouse and just focus on the Lord. That's not biblical, okay? Like, yeah, nothing is supposed to come between us and the Lord. That's not the same thing as leaving your spouse and getting a divorce, okay? Encouraging people to do that makes me literally ill. The fact that he literally is encouraging people to divorce their spouses, or at least leave them, and then that way you can fully be devoted to the Lord. Oh yeah, because that's what the Lord wants, is broken marriages, right? Like, are you kidding me right now? That's your marriage counseling? And it's completely disgusting that that's the excuse he makes for himself. In this sermon, I'm not, like, supposing this. This is what he is literally talking about from 3 years ago. That's his excuse. Like, well, she's holding me back, and I can't have anybody hold me back anymore. And as soon as I got rid of her, basically, that part is insinuated, as soon as he made this big change in his life, then suddenly he's just hearing all this stuff from the Lord, and blah, 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 and I'm not restricted anymore. Oh, yeah, so now you can go date your secretary. Good job, dude. I guess you're not restricted anymore. Like, that is just shameful behavior for a pastor. And I'm not trying to say that this guy is lost, because I believe he's a Christian. I do believe that when he decided to can his wife and to get remarried, because he could have just stayed abstinent at that point and been like, well, we have irreconcilable differences, you know, like, we have to separate for now, whatever else. Okay, that's not the same thing as committing adultery. At this point, because he hasn't said she was committing adultery, he doesn't have legal, biblical grounds to divorce his wife, therefore is committing adultery with his second wife, and presumably his now wife, you know, could be committing adultery against, well, is, you know, against her ex-husband, unless her ex-husband cheated on her, but we don't know the facts about that. But we don't know, because Greg Locke appears to believe that he is a cut above the company. Like, he doesn't answer to anybody, and he doesn't owe anybody an explanation. But guess what? When you're a pastor, yeah, you do actually owe everybody an explanation, because when you're a teacher, you're judged more harshly. That's what the Bible says. And so you need to be forthcoming then and let us know, was she cheating on you like crazy and you just, you know, had to leave or whatever, and it just so happens your new wife, her husband was cheating, so you're both technically free and allowed to remarry? Because that's the only circumstance this would be okay. And instead, you're making excuses for the fact that you canned your wife, and you're encouraging others to can their spouse if they feel that they just need to be free, you know? And he literally says in this sermon snippet, he's like, you know, if they have, like, these addictions and stuff that you know, are dragging you down and dragging your house down. Like, he is not preaching biblically or godly, in a godly manner, and it's very shameful. I'm ashamed that I followed him because of the fact that he is encouraging couples to get divorced, and that's disgusting. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring this up. Like I said, he's probably still a Christian, but he is definitely in need of repentance. But also, he has disqualified himself from being a pastor. That's the big point right there. Okay? And there was one more thing that I wanted to bring up, which is that there was a tirade that he did against a Dunkin Donuts employee, and I heard about this before too, but I guess I didn't hear all the details. All I heard is that he went off on somebody because they told him to wear a mask, and that didn't bother me, because I would go off on somebody for that too. I'd be like, mind your own business, you know? And so that doesn't bother me. But then I heard out of his own mouth what he actually said to the guy, and I guess this guy was saying something to him. I don't know what he said, and I don't care. because what I care about is Greg's response. And his response was, if you, and he says this in a video, tirade, when he's doing it on the, and the video's out there, look for it, okay? And he literally says, if you lie about me again, I'm going to kick your teeth in. And then he goes, that's right, I said it, but da-da-da-da, right? Like, you're going to kick somebody's teeth in? Is that proper conversation and proper behavior for a supposed pastor? Because there's rules, you know, in the, I think it's in 2 Timothy 3, right? Let me make sure. Nope, 1 Timothy 3. In 1 Timothy 3, there's rules for a bishop, which is the same for pastor. And you have to be the husband of one wife. And then there's other things like not given to wine. You have to have self-control. And you have to be able to be gentle with people and stuff. Not like you always have to be gentle, but you can't be like hot-headed, basically, right? And that is hot. I can't believe that you would say something like that. The worst I've ever said to somebody over COVID stupidity is just like somebody was trying to give me something, this receipt, trying to get me to sign something, and I said, you can shove it up your ass. And I don't care that I said that. First of all, I'm not a pastor, and second of all, I didn't like promise bodily harm to somebody, right? So he literally is promising bodily harm to somebody, saying he's going to kick their teeth in, and he's a pastor. I'm not a pastor. So teachers are judged more harshly. That's not my words, that's the words of the Lord. And so there's just, and I don't even know everything I'm sure that this guy has for offenses. I'm not trying to say that he's like a Satan worshiper or something, but I am trying to say that because of his behavior and because of the fact that he refused to reconcile with his first wife, there's no signs of adultery that we're aware of, and he decided to remarry in a very short amount of time. And I should mention too, the fact, I forgot to mention this, that there was, I think it's called Pen and Pulpit. It's some kind of a organization online, right, that was spying on him. I don't know if these people are good guys or bad guys, but evidently they got pictures of his car outside of his now wife before he was married to her. They got pictures of his car outside of her house, you know, in the middle of the night, kind of a thing. So, and then I guess he got all ticked off about it and threatened them or something, and then like for, you know, defamation or something, I don't know. And then the very next week, he announced his engagement to this new woman, okay? So there's just so much shady stuff about the situation. Like, if you are really guiltless, Greg Locke, then you need to be more open and stop acting like you don't owe anybody an explanation, and you need to explain yourself and say, my wife was cheating, I'm biblically allowed to divorce my wife, and I'm going to marry this other woman, and she had reasons and grounds to divorce, because otherwise, if she didn't have good reason to, you can't just go and marry somebody, then you're literally committing adultery, because she's the wife of another man, right? And even then, even if he did all that, it would still be debatable if he would be allowed to be a pastor under those circumstances. I'm looking at the Bible and I'm thinking that that's not cool, dude. So, the thing is that I've given him a lot of excuses because I like his style, I like that he's bold, and he's against Nancy, you know, blah, 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 Pelosi, and all this other stuff. Like, I'm totally, and he preaches the gospel a lot, and a lot of times I like what he has to say. And does he have a lot of good things to say still? Yeah, I would bet so, but I can't look to him as a pastor. I'm not going to be doing his church service, and I can't look to him like that spiritual guide kind of a thing, because he is literally, because of his behavior and because of his adulterous behaviors with his new wife, I can't support him as a pastor, so he has literally disqualified himself from that position. So I just wanted to make sure that I let you guys know about this, because I have promoted him before. I've sent his videos to a lot of my friends, because I liked his style, I liked a lot of what he had to say. But at the end of the day, it looks like he's not somebody we should be looking to as a pastor, that's for sure. And I think it's important for us as Christians, when we see stuff like this, to share it with others, so that other people aren't led astray, potentially, by these so-called pastors. In this day and age, it's really hard to get any good actual pastors who preach the gospel. So now we'll be on the search for another pastor, I guess. But I'm not going to play games with that, especially when he's being as disgusting as trying to encourage people to divorce their spouses and move on so that they can really focus on the Lord now. And that's a bunch of crap. So, and it's not godly. So anyways, if you guys have any other facts about him you want to share, feel free to post them in the comments. I'm not just trying to rag on the guy, like I said, but these are the facts. This is what he has made of it, so I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, you guys are willing to comment. You guys are welcome to comment and like and subscribe. If you haven't done that before, please do. We have a lot of other really good videos. I have one I'm about to post about tattoos, and we have one about the Chosen series and the falsehood of that, and a bunch of other stuff. So just check out our channel, okay? But I hope that God blesses you guys, and go with God.